All right, all right, all right. What's up, family? Once again, you're here with myself, Mike Powell, and my great guest, Otis Winston. I got the man in the building.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And welcome to my third episode of Let Me Talk to You, Son. So today, we're going to talk about our relationship and how everything unfolded. So this is kind of like the what's that word? The finale
Yeah.
of the first two episodes. So, man,
Yeah, bro.
got my man here, got my big bro, little big bro here.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So, I'm gonna dive right into it like I always do. Otis, of course, you got to give us some of these accolades. Great man of God, great man.
I appreciate
Great father. So you got to
Same,
give us
bro.
these accolades, man, and tell the people who you are just a little bit.
Man, it's simple, I'm Otis Winston.
Yes, sir.
Born and raised in Youngstown, Ohio. Moved to Toronto, Ohio. I'm a two-sport athlete from the Ohio State University,
sir.
but most
Yes, sir.
importantly, I'm a father.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
Father of my amazing beautiful children, and I'm a full-time SAG actor, man.
That's what's
Just
up.
trying to change my stars, man, and walk into the purpose that God has called me to walk into, and reach as many people as I can.
Yes, sir. See how modest and humble you be. Two-sport athlete. So in high school, don't you have a record? You average like 30 and something?
I averaged a triple-double in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then when you were recruited by Ohio State and committed, two-sport athlete. So in high school,
I was a three-time high jump champion. Went 7 feet in high school. I won the high jump and the long jump my senior year. And then went to Ohio State, 4-time Big Ten champion, 2-time All-American, and just Olympic trials, and then went overseas and played in Russia. And, it's because it's life. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this all my life.
That's wonderful.
That's why the pivot to acting was so easy, because I've been disciplined to be an athlete all my life.
Nice.
And that discipline translated to me being disciplined as a father. Then it translated as me being disciplined as an actor. So you carry that with you. So what you do as an athlete, it really, really carries you further and propels you further in life.
Wow. So I'm glad you said that. So I hear you saying that you being an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going into your childhood, I know a little bit, but we're gonna share with the people.
Mm-hmm.
Your father was absent at some point, and you have older brothers.
Yeah.
Now, how did that play a role into you becoming an athlete and the discipline that you're talking about with you being an athlete? How did you use that, so to speak, to catapult you into not only just being an athlete, but being a great athlete? You know what I mean? Because we have a lot of athletes, and we know
Absolutely.
all of Columbus.
Absolutely.
And so, you've trained athletes as well. So how did that catapult you into becoming a great athlete with that discipline, with the absence of your father and your big brothers?
Really, before my dad left, he showed us and taught so much, man. We lived in Youngstown, Ohio, man. My dad was so far before his time, man.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he moved us out of the projects. He moved us into a house right outside the projects. And man, this dude we had a store in our basement, man.
Wow.
And we had a store that the whole neighborhood would come to before going to school and coming home from school. So he was so ambitious. As when I was young, when he ended up getting incarcerated, my brother stepped up, and I saw my brothers be athletes. I wasn't a good athlete when I was young. Everything was hard when I was younger, man.
Right.
I couldn't talk I stuttered until I was 11.
Wow.
Couldn't properly talk. They told me I would never be able to properly talk, and that fortified me, man. It really created me and made me what I needed to be, because to go from that to graduating from Ohio State with a communications degree, that just goes to show what happens when you trust God and you persevere and you don't give up.
Yes, sir.
But my family never let me give up. My brothers were hard on me, man.
Yes, sir.
So to answer your question, I became the athlete that I am because I had the brothers that I had.
Right.
My brothers were my heroes when I was growing up.
That's wonderful.
And I used to think that they didn't like me. Especially my brother Brian, man. I'm like, man, this dude don't like me.
Because hard on you.
Yeah, he was hard on me, man. He wouldn't let me follow him.
Yes.
He would take some of my friends with him, wouldn't take me. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized it wasn't that he didn't like me. He didn't want me doing what he was doing. So he was shielding me. He was protecting me because he knew that, you know, I was the one.
Right. And me being a big brother, I understand that completely.
Absolutely.
I have 2 younger brothers, and I was the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't want them involved in some of the things that I was involved in.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't until recently my middle brother, well, my younger brother, but he's the middle brother.
Yeah.
Brian, his name is Brian
Yeah.
as well. When he came home to visit, he lives in Atlanta. He's been living in Atlanta for like 20-something years. When he came home to visit, he kind of shared that with me, like, you know, he felt like left out.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, man, you know, like, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? I'm just in my mind thinking like, man, I was in some mess. You know what I'm saying? I did not want you to be part of my mess. And you know, God forbid something happened to you. I couldn't live with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand that big brother role. And then being hard on my younger brother, Damon. You know, Damon.
Bro, we catch it.
Yeah,
we catch it because I caught it. But now I used to think they didn't like me, but they did not like me. They loved me.
Right.
They loved me enough to shield me. But I didn't understand that at that time. But now I do.
That's wonderful, man. And so you said that discipline led you. You took that discipline and you magnified it and let it carry over into you being a father to fatherhood.
Absolutely.
Now, with Rain and with Promise, because Promise is an athlete as well. Beautiful Promise.
Yeah.
So with Promise and Rain, and you being the father through, you know, using that discipline and things of that nature, how did you, what was your approach? No, because you said that your brothers made you feel like they didn't like you.
Yeah.
So how was your approach with Rain with that discipline as well as Promise, and how to cultivate them without them feeling some of the feelings? But even though you understood later, you know, sometimes when we get on our children, they don't really understand everything that we're doing.
They
you know
don't.
what I mean?
They don't.
We just like, nah.
They can't see the forest for the trees. All they can do is deal with, you didn't make me feel good in the moment. So basically, I just gave them the love that I always wanted.
Wow.
And
we do that.
Yeah, yeah.
We do that.
Yeah, yeah. I gave them the love I always wanted, but I communicated.
Yeah.
I communicated. One of the easiest thing to me was coaching my kids.
Okay.
You know,
were you coaching before?
Yeah, I was coaching before they even started sports.
So you already had some type of experience with other kids.
Absolutely.
And when you're coaching other kids, there's a level of respect off top.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that helped you, like, okay, when they came along, even the more like, all right, I know how to implement coaching strategies.
Absolutely.
You know, the experiences from my brothers. So that's great, man.
Yeah, and the issue that I have with a lot of coaches now is they try to coach each kid the same way, and you can't. It's like parenting. I can't parent each kid the same way. You know, I can't parent Promise the way I parent Rain. I can't parent Preston the way I do Rain and Bree and Nevaeh. Everybody needs a different type of love. You know what I'm saying? So when it came to coaching, I approached it like that.
Same intensity of love, but a different style
They need
of love.
different attention.
Yes.
Each one. And see, when I was coming up, my dad gave us all the same.
Yes.
You know,
I was like that.
Yeah. He gave us
like a disciplinarian.
Absolutely. He gave us all the same love. If one messed up, we always lay in the middle of the floor with our drawers on.
We'll get a whooping. We all get a whooping.
All of us get a whooping, man. I remember one time he had us all laid on the floor, and I was like, man, I got to pee. He was like, I said, Daddy, I got to pee. He's like, all right, Kevin, take him to the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom, like, I don't got to pee. I just didn't want to whoop him. So I'm standing in the bathroom like, that. Kevin looking at him, boy, come on, hurry up before Daddy come. Man, my daddy snuck up on me, man, and he screamed so loud. I was like, and a little, just blink. Into the toilet, man. I came running out of there. You know what I'm saying? But he disciplined us all the same. And I learned from that. They all need different love.
That's good.
And that's just, even as coaching, all the athletes need different type of attention. You can't approach them all the same. And if you do, you will not get each kid to their maximum level of potential.
Because coaching is like fatherhood.
It
in
is,
a sense.
brother.
You know, a lot of our children, because there's so many blended families in America.
Absolutely.
Period, right? So kudos to those that are, just married 25 years. That's great. Though we do have a lot of blended families in America. So, this we're a blended family.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of times coaching plays a role of fatherhood to some single parents. You know what I mean?
It does.
And you made a great point about like everybody has different love attention needs for love. You know what I mean? So, it's just one of those things where, and I'm glad that you said this because I was thinking about this the other day about coaching, and there's a lot of great people doing great jobs as well in coaching, right? So you could do great as a coach, and still have some issues within yourself.
Absolutely.
Some people take advantage of coaching positions.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's the ego.
Because, because of the situations, you're dealing with single moms, you could, they may be vulnerable and things of that nature.
Bruh,
and that also adds to the cycle of hurt and pain because we've some coaches have, been a mentor, father figure, and mom looked good. I just want to talk real quick.
Yeah.
And we take advantage of that. And now you in little man's life that doesn't work out with mom, or you just wanted to take advantage of it. We're actually adding to the cycle of pain and that the father son
and distrust
relationship. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's in other words, when you're in that position of coaching, shout out to all the coaches. First of all, just to be in that position, you got a heart for it. But we know that it's a lot of responsibility. It really is. And, it takes that discipline that you talked about. To me, it takes God.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We often use the term village. It takes that village,
Yeah.
Your other coaches, other resources.
Absolutely.
To, make it a solid foundation because we want to break the mold. We just don't want to just, get likes or live out a dream through your children, which I mean, that's even in that's, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's always a way to go about things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's great that you use coaching. And then when you start coaching Rain and Promise, back to them, you use those methods to obviously get him to a position where he's at. He's a high jumper. Rain is a high jumper now.
Absolutely.
At Ohio State. And you got the record at Ohio State.
Absolutely.
At 7'4" and
a half.
And a half.
30 years, man.
Wow.
30 years. And it's crazy because watching them, and I remember when I coached Rain in Coba basketball, and it came a time where he was like, I ended up not starting him, but he didn't realize that it wasn't that I didn't start him because he wasn't good enough to start. I didn't start him because the spark he always brought off the bench.
Nice.
So if I would bring Sean or LJ out the game, right, and Rain and Brendan would come in the game, we never lost anything. Man. We never lost anything. But he couldn't realize, he didn't realize that. He was just saying, oh, you just didn't play me. Nah, I needed that
Method to
extra
your madness.
Yeah. And so he understands that now. Even with when I coached Preston in the Cobra League, man, I had to learn because little dude had some aggression. You know, he'd slam a kid on the court. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, he's a gentle giant.
Yes, sir.
But he understands. So I knew I had to approach him differently than how I approach Rain. That's just coaching, not just coaching. That's parenting.
Yes.
You know, same when Promise went to college. And how her and I talked about her and her volleyball. And now she's a mom.
Yes.
I'm watching her and I'm still seeing.
She's doing phenomenal.
Exactly. I'm still seeing how I have to still be there.
Yes.
Yep. You know, parenting don't stop.
That's such a true statement.
It don't stop.
And with that being said, let's swing into me and you.
Okay.
Okay. Now how all right. So first of all, when I knew of Otis, but I never really met him and where we got to chop it up. Yeah. So when I came into Star's life, obviously, you know, he was like, hey man, you know, you're gonna be around my children. Let's get together and chop it up.
Let's meet.
And you know, just killing narratives that might have been out there before. We wanted to approach each other as grown men. And there was a time where we was in each other's presence, but we still wasn't quite at the level we are now. We always had that mutual respect, but it wasn't that level of where it is, the brotherhood. And
we didn't, it's almost like we didn't allow ourselves to get along. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you were dealing with Star. Mm-hmm. I was over here with and your other children, your other baby mamas and children. I was dealing with, you know, Tommy, mm-hmm. and her and I were learning, and y'all were learning. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, she's my safety net. Mm-hmm. You had your safety net with Star, but the issue that I think bled into it is that our past. What Star and I went through bled into what we were trying to create.
And to your point, I think that's everybody.
Absolutely.
Because all of us have a past.
Absolutely.
So we all bring in some type of pain, so to speak, to want to, and love purifies.
Yes.
So love is going to bring up those, it's going to surface those things that you want to kind of tuck away and not really talk about too much.
Absolutely.
And it's going to purify. And as you learning each other, you know what I mean? You finding methods and love languages.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You're discovering yourself as well, discovering your mate.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we was all discovering each other and ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I think it was when your uncle had transitioned, and I remember coming over, either picking up Rain, and I was like, "Hey, bro, let me holler at you." And I told him, man to man, face to face, like, bro, if I said anything behind your back to your face that was negative and not of good cheer, I apologize.
Absolutely.
Forgive me. And you said the same, and you was like, this is perfect timing. I just got off the phone with my family. I just lost my uncle. And from that point on, I think we began to be intentional even more to build a brotherhood and want to see the big picture, so to speak.
I believe we became intentional with seeing each other.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I stopped looking at you as my ex's husband. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I started looking at you as Mike Powell, someone who I trust my kids with.
Right.
Someone who's around my children, someone who I don't mind calling my kids bonus father.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying? And I remember I was in prayer one day, man, in 1 Corinthians 13, the chapter on love, man. And I was praying, and I remember the Spirit said, everywhere I see love, put Otis.
Wow. That's good word.
And if I'm not doing that, I'm not really loving.
That's good word.
Love is patience. Otis is patient.
That's good word.
Love is kind. Otis is kind. But this point got me. Mm-hmm. Love keeps no record of wrongdoing.
Man, say that. My
Otis keeps no record of wrongdoing. Do I?
Man.
So I had to learn how to let go.
That's good.
I had to learn how to let go because I'm thinking I know how to love, and I think I'm properly loving. Man, we don't scratch the surface of what real love is.
Man,
real love is in the sacrifice.
Pastor Rick Davis, Big Baby.
Yeah,
he's teaching on forgiveness and how we as a community really should, as people really should walk in a posture of forgiveness.
Absolutely.
I think that's really that would be very important to implement that in our community amongst young Black men and Black men, period. I think that would be like, if we really walked in that posture of forgiveness, like you said, keeping no record of wrong. And I mean, it's easier said than done.
It is. It was hard.
It's capable because we're sitting here today.
Except for, see, this is where we mess up, bro, is that competition, man.
So being an athlete. So that part of being an athlete is to compete.
You don't know how to separate.
Wow.
But see,
so how did you, now can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
How did you kind of
because
sever the two?
I can't compete with my kids.
I love that, but
I can't compete with my mate.
Man.
And if I always compete, then
powerful.
I'm the last one. I remember I was just doing a movie, man, down in Atlanta with Dwayne and Rock Johnson, man. God,
nice.
Thank you, God, for this brother, man. And he was talking to me. And before we started one of the scenes, he said, Otis, come here. He was like, do you think your son is going to break your record? He says, man to man, do you think your son's going to break your record? And I was like, man to man, he was born to break my record.
Come on.
See,
say that.
If I didn't know how to separate that,
come on,
the competitor in me would never want him to break it.
Jesus.
But the father in me, now that I separated that competitor.
That's good stuff. Oh.
And I'm just that father.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just that mate.
Yes, sir.
That's the person in me where I look at my son, I'm like, I'm going to give you everything to break it.
Right.
And be there when you break it. Like I was there last year when he jumped 6'10.75.
Man, he did that.
You heard me screaming louder than anybody.
I think that went kind of viral.
It did. You hear his dad in the background. Because that's what they're born to do. Our children are born to be greater than us.
Yes, sir.
That's my bloodline. And he is really the bloodline because he's the one who carries my last name. When Promise gets married, her last name is going to change.
Yes.
My grandson, 6, his name is 6 Elijah Thomas.
Yes, sir.
It's not 6 Elijah Winston.
Yes, sir.
But now Rain's kids will still carry the bloodline and the Winston.
That's good.
So I got to separate that. I got to give you everything, boy. Same with her. I got to give you everything. Same with my grandbabies. I got to give them everything. I give them everything, man. Because why am I competing with them?
Wow. So with that being said, with Preston,
yes,
because you mentioned Preston earlier, how do you give Preston? Because you now you're in a position of bonus dad.
Yeah.
How do you give Preston what you give Rain without competing with his father?
Easy.
Not that you do.
Yeah,
I'm just
saying,
you know,
it's easy because one, he has a father. You know what I'm saying?
I said the same thing.
I'm not here to replace. I'm here to add.
Come on now.
See, that's the difference.
Come on.
I would never compete with Wayne.
Come on.
There's no reason to compete with him.
Exactly.
He's a good father to his son.
Yes, he is.
You know what I'm saying? The only time a bonus father replaces is when the biological is just a deadbeat and don't want to be around. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to replace nobody. I'm just trying to add. So I'm always adding. Like I said, Preston got a great father. You know, he got a great grandmother, great side of that family. You know, Tommy has done a great job. I promise you, I be looking at her sometimes the way she was with her kid's father, and I'd be like, man, sometimes like, Dad, you easy. You know what I'm saying when it comes to like certain things. But for Preston, I give him what I know he need.
That's good.
What he needed was different than Rain.
Going back to that coaching style.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So he had so much aggression. So I had to learn how to tap in, and I had to learn to show him that it's okay, man.
Yes, sir.
It's okay to feel fear and not attack.
Man, that's a good word. Boy,
You know what I'm saying?
Dropping. Man, if we was in poetry, I'd be snapping my fingers.
But I'm serious.
Bars.
It's okay to feel anxious and not implode or explode. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to love him differently.
That's good.
And he knows that. This dude used to look at me and couldn't stand me. Now I can't shake him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm standing next to him, he put his head on my shoulder.
Good.
You know, but I gave him that love. I earned that love.
That's good.
I worked for that love. I didn't compete for it.
Come on. I
didn't down his dad to make me feel look better. Man, you know what I'm saying?
That all ties into the forgiveness piece and all of that, because when our children are smart.
Absolutely.
They're sponges. They absorb. They're watching every move.
Bro.
And the podcast previous, my son said, "Dad, you was helping me without you even knowing it." And I have to admit that I really didn't know that. You know, you believe in your heart, but I didn't know it. He didn't say that until that moment, which really blessed me. And going to what I was going to the point I'm headed to is that our children are sponges, so they know that energy, that vibe. You know, they know when that love is pure. Absolutely. They know when that direction is pure. So, man, I really commend you on that, man. That's.
Check this out. Your sons, and my sons are learning how to be men by watching us. Be fathers.
Yes.
I learned how to be a father by watching my son be a boy.
Listen,
you see what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Many men are out here still boy.
And I learned. Listen, I learned some off of you.
Absolutely,
watching you and Rain.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying? So, like you said, it wasn't a competition thing, a jealousy thing. It was like, you know, I can learn from this man right here who's building with his son, and that takes humility. That takes maturity,
effort.
You know what I mean? Effort,
man.
You know,
it's a lot of grown boys walking around here.
Wow.
Because they abandoned the responsibility of watching their seeds grow. I learned how to become a man by watching my son be a boy.
Wow.
That's how I learned how to become a man.
Wow.
That responsibility of watching him, seeing how he adjusts and adapt. It taught me.
Yes, sir.
So it's a lot of men out here who don't know how to really handle situations because they abandoned the most responsible situation that God can give us is to be a father, bro.
And it's not too late, fellas.
No, it's not.
It's not too late, man. It really isn't. I mean, don't let guilt and shame eat you up and feel like it's not too late. And then you know, knowing that the pain is going to be there, we're going to have to. I remember when I was going through it with my son, and my daughters at this point too, and my nephew Antoine was like, Star said, "What if it take you? So if I was absent 8 years, what if it take you 8 years to gain their trust back? What if you got to endure all the pain that you caused, all the lashing, all the rejection?" I was like, "It's gonna be worth it. I'll do every day, every second of it until I gain their trust back."
Man, it's so funny. I held on purposely to the pain I was having from my dad not being there.
Man.
Because it became my norm. It became my driving force. So I took all that pain and I put it into my sports. You know what I'm saying? So I became very successful as an athlete. So I thought holding on to that pain is what made me successful.
Jesus.
No, holding on to that pain is what made me miss so many years of the wisdom that my dad has to give me.
That's good, bro.
So now, my dad and that's my man. I can call him. I can talk to him. I can let him know I love him.
I can relate.
He can call me, "What you doing?" Nothing.
I did the same thing.
Nothing.
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
and it wasn't until, like you said, I let the pain go and matured and seen like, wow, my dad really he was that dude. He was in infantry, jumped out airplanes 15 times.
Bruh.
He was a Vietnam vet. you know, the only survivor in his platoon. I mean, I learned so much about him. I'm like, wow, so this is where I get the drive. And the enemy will try to do that. The enemy will try to replace,
separate you from the one.
Exactly. He'll have that pain instead of replacing the pain with the wisdom and love, because he learned as he matured as well. So
man, it's crazy, man. Because now I look at my dad. We talk, and every time I talk about my story, and I talk about him being in prison, I had to tell him today or yesterday, I said, Dad, I don't tell that story for embarrassment.
Right.
I tell that story out of pride.
Right.
Because I'm proud of what you've accomplished.
Say that thing.
I'm proud of where you are. He overcame, man. He overcame, man. And I thank God for that.
Yes, sir.
I thank God for my relationship with everybody, man. It's about life. It's about growing, It's about letting people in, and I learned, because blending is hard. So here I am in a relationship, and when we was blending, I was allowing her to only be so much, because I thought I was protecting, and what I was really doing was hurting, especially hurting her. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes
because I didn't want nothing else to hurt these two.
Yes, sir.
But I can do everything with all of them, but she could only do so much. Man. So I had to learn that me trying to shield but love everybody was a contradiction. So how can they get everything from her when I'm saying, okay, you just sit over here until I need you.
Wow.
And then you can come in.
Wow.
So I had to learn, man. I wasn't perfect, but I learned.
And look at you now.
Yeah, man. Look at me now, man. Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you here, man.
I'm happy to be here.
And there's
bro.
so much that I want to cover. I mean, like, as I'm just sitting here thinking of questions and thinking of how this conversation is moving, I really believe that it helped a lot of people. And I so much more I would love to cover. But I'm so thankful, man, to have you here and share what we did share. I hope it wasn't all over the place, but man, we could go, like Ray said, we could go on hours and hours and hours, but we only have so much time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to present you with a T-shirt, man. I overcame, man.
Oh, bro.
I'm gonna start doing that a little more, like just
man.
some T-shirts, man.
I appreciate this.
Yes,
this.
And with your brand, focus.
Of course, man.
Tap in on Buckeye Born.
I'm learning how to be focused, man.
Focused, yes,
I love
sir.
this. I overcame, man.
Thank
I appreciate you and Star for that, man.
I appreciate you, man. I really do, man. Like we really
we brothers,
we
man.
We prayed. We done cried. I done called this brother crying. We done prayed, man. I mean, I'm really, really thankful. And I just want the best for you.
I appreciate that. Man. Same here, man.
I really do.
He ain't done with us, man. We just getting started, bro.
All right. Thank you, guys. That's a wrap.
Yes, sir.